morning, River Rascals, and welcome to KRYVR Kiskatoon River Retro Radio, where the stories are real-ish and the heart is true. I'm your host, Julie May Morrill, coming to you semi-live from the muddy banks of the Middle K. And yes, the fish are biting, the cows are planning their next jailbreak, and there's always a fresh tale rolling in. Today we've got a cow story or two, a listener call-in segment, some old-timey music, and a reading from River to My Home, the story that inspired this whole shindig. But first, let's take a look at what's new on the riverbank. For our local traffic report this morning, Farmer Haas Moss's sheep got out and are crossing the road near mile marker 4 on Eastside Road. So slow down unless you want some ground mutton and a wool blanket for a picnic lunch. For today's weather, expect a sunny disposition, a cheerful breeze, a warm front of good intentions, and a few flirtatious clouds just passing through. Don't forget to hydrate and maybe call your mama. Next up is our wildlife watch. A family of otters has been spotted causing mischief down by the no-bottom swimming hole on the Rebel River. Locals report missing bait, one mysteriously vanished picnic basket, and a pair of swim trunks. And now it's time to look at what's shaking on the sidelines in this week's KRYVR Sports Report. First up, over at the Haven Hollow Rodeo Park, it's time to saddle up the toddlers and let them hold on tight. Mutton busting season is back. Buckle up for bruises, band-aids, and big dreams as the under-8 crowd proves you're never too small to wrangle wool. In other news, kids' soccer practice is in full swing at every elementary school from Haven Hollow to Jacksonville to Shasta. If you've noticed missing shin guards or a sudden uptick in grapes and granola bars at snack time, now you know why. Let's pause for a word from our fine sponsors who help pay the bills around here. Do you need a four-legged fishing buddy? Marble Mountain Kennels has got you covered. For the highest quality black, yellow, chocolate, and fox red labs, as well as expert training, contact Pete Morrill at his ranch in Siskiyou County, California. Area code 530-598-0943. Are you feeling stuck and at a crossroads, searching for life's meaning and your life calling? Invite Pete and his wife to organize a retreat or workshop for your group or organization, where they will take you step by step through their True North Quest training to help you discover and fulfill your calling. Located in Northern California, you can reach them at 530-598-5935 or on one of those newfangled website things, tnadventures.org. And finally, if you're looking for night crawlers, buck hunting gear, or good old-fashioned root beer, you can find these items and more at the Horse Creek General Store. Stop by today. Next up, we have our station manager and occasional co-host Jim Bob James with us. Take it away, Jim Bob.
And now it's time for our listener call-ins. We've got Uncle Ray on the line now. Hello, Uncle Ray. What have you got to share with our listening audience today? Go ahead, you're on the air.
Yeah. Hi, this is Uncle Ray. I just wanted to let everybody know I saw a bear down at the Roxbury swimming hole. Or maybe it was Cousin Clyde after skipping a bath for a week. Ha 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 ha.
Thank you very much for that, Uncle Ray. And I believe we have Miss Taylor on the line. Go ahead, Mrs. Taylor, you're on the line.
Can someone please tell me why the heckler bean cows are escaping? Is that little Fanny Lou leaving the gate open again? Who's patching fences at their place, anyhow?
Well, I believe they were moving cattle last week, Mrs. Taylor. Happens at least twice a year, but since you're new to living in the country, you might not realize that. Okay, thank you for calling in, Mrs. Taylor. It's time to slow things down a bit and take a float downstream. This is River to My Home, a segment where we shine a light on the folks who have helped shape this neck of the woods we call home. Here to tell it, in her own words, is local author and river rambler, Julie May Morrill.
Now just a quick word before I dive in. Some of y'all listening might be friends, neighbors, or former classmates, so if a character in this story sounds a wee bit familiar, just know it's purely coincidence. Probably. This story is fiction, blended together with memories, local legends, and maybe the occasional TV rerun. So don't go getting your tighty-whities in a bunch, it's all in good fun. It's been busy over here lately on the river to my home, my little red neck of the woods tucked somewhere between the pines and peaks of the Cascades and the Kootenays. The sun's shining, the chores keep stacking up, and the Landrys have had a rooster mystery going on at their little farmette. Mr. and Mrs. Landry don't keep roosters. Too noisy and obnoxious, and they've got neighbors close by, and they like to keep the peace with them. But this chicken caused a little bit of a kerfuffle with the closest neighbor, Suze and Jerry Dunner, because Cindy Landry thought a rooster had taken to shacking up with her hens. Funny thing was, she could never find the cockadoodlin' canoodler. She figured he was sneaking into the hen house for clandestine one-night stands. He'd spend the night with his harem, crow proudly in the morning, and vanish like the feathered Casanova he was. Cindy Landry asked all the neighbors if they had a stray rooster, and they all said no, and would they please get rid of their noisy rooster. Cindy assured them she had no roosters, and she got a little ticked off at the accusation and accused the Dunners of hiding a rooster in their coop and letting him go out to visit the Landry coop to have his way with the hens. Cindy didn't want any fertilized eggs, thank you very much. She and her husband Richard were perfectly happy with their unfertilized eggs and undefiled hens, and they weren't keen on unsolicited rooster romance. Then last Thursday morning, Mrs. Landry called her husband over to the kitchen window, which looks out to the chicken yard, and there was one of her Easter egger hens crowing like a rooster, louder than your alarm clock and twice as determined to wake the whole Kiskatoon River Valley. And Cindy had to eat humble pie and go over to the Dunner's house and apologize to Suze for the false accusations and misunderstanding. Suze asked if that noisy hen was going to be rotisseried or roasted. Cindy argued that the hen was probably just asserting herself. Maybe she had an unresolved vendetta against daylight savings and would go back to normal in the winter. Suze said that if Cindy didn't eat that hen herself, she'd make sure she was roasted and on her table for Sunday dinner. So a chicken feud has begun, and it doesn't sound like it will be resolved anytime soon. In other news on the river, a fellow by the name of Joel McKenzie moved here this week from Southern California with 3 kids and a pregnant chocolate Labrador retriever named Juno. Joel was hired to take over as director of Cricket Creek Camp over near the Rebel River. He says his wife will join them soon once she finishes her work down south and ties up a few loose ends. Could be a month, could be 3. Of course, folks on the camp board are already buzzing, wondering what kind of man shows up with kids and a pregnant dog but no wife. Around here, that sort of thing raises more questions than answers. The younger McKenzie kids seem to like it just fine here, turning over rocks to find scorpions, hiking on zigzagging deer trails, and splashing in the Roxbury swimming hole. But 8-year-old Marin? She's got the look of a girl betrayed by geography. Joel's a big man, built like a barrel with a wrestler's neck wedged into a 2-tone tan Ford station wagon. He looks a little too big for the driver's seat. He and his youngest kid, Colt, were singing along to Paul McCartney's silly love songs on a scratchy FM radio that came in and out as he wound around one corner to another. Folks who visit the Kiskatoon River often leave scratching their heads, wondering what decade they just stepped into. You'll hear 1950s to 80s music crackling over the radio, see cassette tapes tucked in glove compartments, and even the occasional 8-track if you ask the right old-timer. Fizzy Zotz candies are sold out at the Mercantile, and Tupperware parties are still going strong like it's a new invention. In the back seat, Marin sat with her arms crossed, blonde bangs covering dark eyebrows drawn together like angry caterpillars. She'd left behind her best friend Kim, her Saturday morning cartoons, and probably her last good mood for a while. Now all she had were a cassette full of TV theme songs and a punky mood. Mrs. Bartlett dropped off one of her famous pies for the newcomers. The Dunner family loaned them a chainsaw, and the rooster hen keeps up her mornings as though trying to wake the dead. Marin's younger sister, Shayla, pressed her face to the car window, eyes alight with excitement every time they passed a horse in a pasture or caught a glimpse of a deer poking its head above tall meadow grasses. "Millions of Christmas trees everywhere," she squealed, pointing to endless acres of evergreens as far as the eye could see. Little Colt sat between his sisters, happily kicking his bare feet and singing the only words he knew of McCartney's song, "I Love You," and entirely unfazed by the upheaval of the move from suburban comforts to the untamed wilds of this new territory. He wouldn't stop singing, much to the chagrin of his 2 sisters. He kicked the back of Joel's seat, which led to Dad calling him Buster, the nickname he always pulled out when his son got too wiggly or naughty. A few months earlier, when her parents had sat her down to explain the upcoming move to a new place without television, Marin had fortified herself with homemade audio cassette recordings of the opening theme music from her favorite TV shows, Bugs Bunny, Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom, The Waltons, and The Wonderful World of Disney. Her plan was simple. When the loneliness hit, she'd pop in a tape and let those familiar tunes remind her of the world she'd left behind. As the station wagon turned off Rebel River Road onto the sporadically paved and potholed Roxbury Drive, their new home came into view, a tiny single-wide mobile home near one edge of the Cricket Creek camp property, tucked away in a forest alcove above the creek where it couldn't be seen. "Is that a house?" asked Shayla, wrinkling her nose. "It's our house," Joel announced with a grin in his voice. "It's like Little House in the Big Woods," Shayla said with wonder in her voice. "Except it's not really a house, is it?" Marin's tone was saturated with ridicule. "More like a rusty shoebox." Joel opened the door, and a squirrel shot out from underfoot like a rocket. Shayla screamed, Colt stumbled backward into Joel's legs, and Marin jumped with a shriek as it darted past and disappeared into the woods. Joel chuckled, but Marin looked ready to slam the door shut again. "I'm not going in there, Dad." But they did go in, and it was a little scary. 2 bedrooms, 1 tight bathroom. The floors were covered in tacky old green linoleum, and it was obvious the current mouse and bug tenants hadn't gotten their eviction notice. A few brave, kind members of the Rebel River Community Church had done a decent job of cleaning up the place and making it resemble a home, with newish area rugs, fresh curtains, and the scent of welcome casserole dishes of comfort food wafting from the kitchen. And so it goes here in the tiny hamlet of Haven Hollow on the Kiskatoon. The river keeps tumbling by in a musical rush of rapids. The fruit punch is usually spiked with nothing stronger than lemonade, and neighborhood watch is taken very seriously by an older generation that actually cares about the fate of their community, but usually comes across as nosy busybodies. Maybe next week the Mackenzies will feel more settled. Maybe Marin will find something to smile about. And maybe that hen will go back to clucking and let folks get an extra much-needed hour of sleep. So that's the news from the Kiskatoon River, where a certain hen crows at dawn, casseroles arrive out of nowhere with warm intentions, and the neighbors keep watch whether you want them to or not.
Well, thank you kindly for your heartfelt story, Julie May. We look forward to more tales from the riverbank in the next episode of River to My Home. By the way, Julie May, do you believe goats are agents of chaos or merely misunderstood?
What? I think it's time for me to go, and you need to get back to your show. Bye, Jim Bob. Bye, everyone.
And now it's time to get a little wiggle on. Welcome to our retro music moment, where we sing, shimmy, and shive. Taking us back to the 50s, here's Ofer Koren's Let the Good Times Roll.
Go.
Ofer Koren with Let the Good Times Roll. Well, that's all the time we've got for today, folks. Before we go, we'd like to give a little shout out to our neighbors at Mill Creek Road. Heard y'all got a new goat who thinks he's a rooster. Hey, send us a soundbite. And if you'd like to help keep this little raft afloat, feel free to swing by and drop a tip in our donation jar. It helps keep our squirrel-infested studio up and running. Well, River Rascals, that's the end of our show for today. Thank you for joining us here at KRYVR Radio. And, like Grandpa Glenn always says, you gotta watch out for beavers around here. Those guys are damn crazy. Well, folks, if we had a little more cash for this low-budget Poverty Flats radio station, I'd be playing John Denver's Country Roads for you right now. But you can listen to one of our rival stations and listen to the song for yourself. Take Me Home, Country Roads. Thank you for tuning in to KYRVR Kiskatoon River Radio, where the past meets the present and the river keeps flowing. Oh, but before we float off into the sunset, here's one for you river rascals to chew on. Do you believe goats are agents of chaos or merely misunderstood? Write in with your answers. We'll share our favorites on another broadcast, unless of course the bears get to the mailbox first. This has been your host, Jim Bob James, reminding you, whether you're paddling upstream or just floating along, you're always welcome here on the river to my home. Take care of yourselves, and God bless.
KRYVR River Radio is a homegrown production brought to you by KRYVR and the fine folks at True North Quests, helping you find your calling one story at a time. Written, edited, produced, and hosted by yours truly, Julie Morrill. Co-hosted by James Jim Bob Simon. Special thanks to the talented musicians whose work helped bring today's episode to life. Cheesecake by Ofer Koren, our toe-tapping intro theme. High Street by A Month of Sleep. By the Riverside by Grand Project. About That Oldie by Vibe Tracks. And Travel by Alex Goose. And last but never least, thanks be to God for every breath we breathe.